Okay, so this is our topic 3 review. This is going over everything that we have learned in this unit. And if you remember, we started off pretty nice. This is putting numbers in word form, standard form, or expanded form. So when I have right here, this is expanded. That's taking the number and pulling it apart, place value by place value. Putting it back together is literally like doing addition. So 1,000 plus 5 is 1,005. 300 plus 20 plus 7 is 327. 7,000 plus 800 plus 60 plus 4, okay, becomes 7,864. 9,000 plus 300 plus 5 becomes 9,305. Now it's to write each number in expanded form. So it becomes 8,210 and 4. And this 620 becomes 620. That one was simple. So the only reason that we would get into trouble here is when we have things that say like, find the standard form of this written. So it gives you the written word and it wants you to put it in standard and it says like 28,065. And some of you think that 65 is 605 or 650. Or 20,865. Okay, so you have to just really focus on what each part of it is. Usually when there's a 0 in there, when it's missing a tens place, that's when we can get into some trouble. Or if it's missing a hundreds place, that's when we can get into some trouble because we're rushing through it. Okay, next bit. The values of the given digits. So we've got place value. And then we have actual value. When it's asking for the value, that means the 8s in 188 are 80 and 8, not 10s and 1s. The 7s in 774 are 770. The biggest tip I can give you is say it out loud. Whisper it out loud to yourself. You'll hear it. The ones in 6,811, okay, well 11, you don't actually hear it. But you know that 11 is 10 and 1. But in this one, you say it out loud. You say the answer. 2,339. The 3s are 330. The 4s in 4,457, 4,400. The 9s in 9,924. It's all very straightforward there. And if there was a third 9, if it was 9,994, then I would say 9,990. But if there is a question that says, what place value is the 5 in, then you say it's in the tens place. So you have to remember the difference between place value and value. All right, comparing numbers. This is when we're doing those dots to help us out. Because again, sometimes it's super obvious. Other times it's just one number that has been switched and your brain doesn't like that. Your brain can get a little weird with switching things around that look similar. So you always focus on it. So I go, okay, 4, 9. Well, clearly, I'm looking right in the 10,000s place. 9 is greater than 4. But when I read this as 44,974 is less than 91,719. Now, if I look here, here's where I can make a mistake. I can go, okay, 1, 2. Well, 2 is bigger. Except the first thing I should notice is my comma and how many numbers are before it. On this side, there are 2 numbers before it. On this side, there are 3 numbers before it. So this is where I can make a mistake if I'm not realizing. So 1, there's a 0 actually in front of this too. So 1, 0, meaning 1 is bigger than 0. That's where a mistake can be made. So always make sure that you are focusing on that. Okay, I'm looking here. The digits are the same amount on each side. 1, 1, 4, 4. And then there's my comma, so I know I'm in the right position. 7, 8. All right, that's where I'm looking, in the hundreds place. 7 is less than 8. And if there was a question that said, what place value would I be looking at to compare these numbers, I would say the hundreds place. Okay, last one. Same number of digits in each one. They look similar. So 5, 5, 9, 9, 2, 2, 6, 6, 0, 0, 0, 0. They are equal. I would say equal ones are pretty easy to spot, but there are also numbers that are like 592, 635, and 592, 653. 5s and 3s look very similar when you're quickly glancing at them. And you could make the mistake of seeing it the same. It happens. So if it's all zeros, yeah, it's a bit more obvious. But when you have something like this, you have to make sure that it is 3 and then that's 5. So that's why we keep doing our dots, because that will help us stay on track with that. All right, on to the next page. Aha, least to greatest and greatest to least. We're ordering them. So to order the numbers, we're doing the same thing. We're finding the one that's bigger than the other, but then we have a third one that we have to bring into it. So writing the numbers in order from least to greatest. When I have something like this that I can write on, I look at it first and go, okay, well, this has 3 before a comma, this has 3 before a comma, this has 2 before a comma. So that's the least. So I'm going to put an L right over that. That's my least. Now, all I got to do is compare these two. And this is only because I'm writing. If it's in a book and I can't write, then I do my L and then my G, and then I write. Okay, well, there's my L, so 96,782. Okay, but because I can actually write on this paper, I can make more notes on it. So I've got 3, and then I've got 1. Oh, well, that's pretty quick and easy to tell right off the bat. The 3 is greater than the 1. So I've got my middle number, which is 1,011, 310, and my greatest number is 312, 846. Let me look at my next bit. Again, 2 before a comma, 1 before a comma, 2 before a comma. I can already tell which one is the least. Here's my least. So 7,923. Now I'm comparing these two. 7, 7, 9, 9, 2, 2, 3, 3, 0, 3. So this one's my greatest. 79,233. And the middle is 79,230. Now it wants it in order from greatest to least. So I do the same thing. 3, 2, 3. Okay, so here's my least. Can already tell because it's got less numbers after the comma. Now I'm comparing these two. 6, 6, 8, 2. Okay, well, 8 is bigger than 2. So that's my greatest. And that one's in the middle. And because it's greatest to least, that one's first, this one is second, and this one is third. I'm only writing it this way with the numbers is because I don't have enough space to do it. But when you're doing your math test, when you have the paper, your answer's on the computer. So you can't even do rewriting it. So on your paper, you can number 1, 2, and 3, and then find that answer on your test of the correct order. Or you can then go off and rewrite it off to the side, okay? Okay, same thing here. 2, 2, 2. Aw, man, I can't get my immediate greater or least one. So now I gotta go, okay, well, 2, 2, 2. They all start the same way too. 3, 3, 4. There's my greatest. So that one's first because I'm ordering greatest to least. Now it's down to these two. 9, 8. All right, well, that's where I'm looking. 9 is the second greatest. 23,812 is my least. So that's third, and this one is second. That makes sense? All right. Now on to the rounding. When it's already underlined for you, you're getting some help. Sometimes it's just asking you to do the place value, and you don't know your place value, and you do the wrong number. But in this case, it says round each number to the place of the underlined digit. Whatever is underlined, everything after it changes, everything before it stays the same. So if I were to rewrite this number, it would start at least with 16, because that stays put. So my 6, I look at the 7. 7 is greater than 5. So I draw another arrow over to my 6 to show that my 6 changes too. My 6 becomes one more, and everything else zeroes out. So it becomes 167,000. Look at number 2. Again, I've got my 6 underlined. So I look at the 5. 5 is rounding up, so that 5 will change the 6. And the 6 becomes a 7, and everything else gets zeroed out. So I now have 77,000. Okay, 5,861. The 5 is underlined, so the 5 looks to the 8. The 8 is greater than 5, so it will change the 5, making my new number 6,000. Because remember, anything after the underlined number, no matter what, is zeroed out at the very end. The only mistake that we can make is not rounding up the number, leaving the 5 as a 5 and saying it's 5,000 instead of 6,000. Okay, my 2 is underlined, so I'm looking at the 7. 7 is greater than 5, so 7 will be changing the 2 into a 3. So I have 433,000 because everything after the 2 is zeroed out. $132,505. The 1 is underlined, so I'm looking at that 3. 3 is less than 5, so I stop right there. Everything is a 0, and I have 100,000. And that's it. $257,931. I'm looking at the 5. The 5 will change the 2. The 2 becomes a 3. Everything else is a 0, so I have 300,000. If this is still somewhat confusing to you, you got a video that you can watch to help reteach it to you, okay? The big thing is having a number like 579,243, and there's no underline for you, and it just says round this number to the nearest 10,000. You have to figure out, where is my 10,000s place? What number is in my 10,000s place? If I'm unsure, I can go as far as going, okay, well, here's ones, here's tens, here's hundreds, here's thousands. Ah, here's 10,000s. So my 7 is what I'm looking at. That's where you guys can make your mistakes. Okay, and then the very last thing down here is making those organized lists. Those can also be tricky because it's more of a skill than it is the math. It's sort of knowing how to put things in groups. Troy collects plastic banks. He has 3 different plastic banks, a pig, a cow, and a frog. How many ways can he arrange his banks on the shelf? I understand you literally just had this question as your homework, but that's okay, because the key to understanding this is no matter what they give you, no matter what it is, I don't care that they are banks. I don't care that he feels like he needs all the different ways of putting them on his shelf, whatever. I need to know how many there are. There is a P, there is a C, there is an F. As long as I have my letters, all I need to know is how many letters do I have. Sometimes there might be a 4th one. Maybe there's a horse in there too. Sometimes there might be a 5th one. Maybe there's a mouse. I don't know. But no matter the amount, you go, okay, well, 1, 2, 3, 4. If I have 5, that's 5. How many different combinations can I make with P in the beginning? No matter what, you always go and just switch. The more numbers, the more complicated. You will not have 5, so I'm going to take that mouse right back off. You did have one where there was 4, but we already know that if there's 3, that means there's 6 in all. Because if I have 3, PCF or PFC, that's the only way that I can organize those with P in the beginning. Then I have to move on to a new letter. So if there are 2 ways to make it, and I have 3 ways in all, that's 3 times 2. And that gives me my answer is 6. The other type of question that you would have would be if I've got the bread question, right? If I'm trying to make sandwiches, or if I have a grilled cheese sandwich or a tuna sandwich. And my options for each sandwich, I can choose from 4 different soups. I could have noodle soup, I could have ramen soup, I could have some potato soup, or I could have some matzo ball soup. This is all I need, because this will be the same over here. The key is understanding what kind of question it is. If it's asking you how many different ways can they be in groups, I've got something and I'm going to put it on a shelf, or I'm going to make a bracelet. What are the different orders that I could put it in? The orders is like the bracelet or the piggy banks, where you just say how many letters there are and how many combinations you can make with the first letter. This one is the sandwiches and different soups to go with each sandwich. And I'm looking at how many combinations. So I could have 1, 2, 3, 4 combinations with just the grilled cheese sandwich. The soups don't change. So that means I will also have 4 combinations with the tuna sandwich. So that's 4. This would be 4. If I threw in a turkey sandwich, that would be another 4. If I threw in chicken salad sandwich, that would be another 4. No matter how many sandwiches I throw in. If I added another soup, if I added wonton soup, then it would be 5 for each one. No matter what, it's almost like finding the rule for the table. It's times 5. So that's how I solve that. But I have to read it carefully. And then the last one is how many pairs can I make? The brothers, the sisters are getting into teams of 2. And that's when I do 1 less. I find out how many combinations I can make with the first, and then I do 1 less than everything else, right? So those you have to just be really careful when you read. What you're going to do now is you are going to test yourself. You're going to take your practice test right now, and then we will go over it together. You are doing all the way to 19. Your homework is this practice test. So you're getting all the practice tests you can possibly get to get you ready for the actual test.